Hello everyone and welcome to Walking Hand in Hand with Cancer. My name is Torben and I've been fighting stage 4 cancer since 2017. And some of you might be sitting out there saying, nah, but I tell you, yeah, I have. And it's been rough sometimes. Um, and yet and still, here I am. If you watched the introductory video, you saw what the doctors have been telling me through the years, and somehow I just got through it. So I'm hoping that these series of videos will of course, tell you my story, but it might also be a little bit inspiration and a motivation to how to get through it, even though even if you are fighting cancer yourself, or you're a relative to a person or have a friend, because it's hard for everybody, and it just is. So in this series, I'm not going to use anything fancy smancy like PowerPoints or anything, because I can't even figure that one out. I mean, it took me like 3 hours to just make the introduction graphics on the video, so there you have it. I'm not doing that. This would just be me sitting down here talking to you right there. So um, even though it sounds a little bit scary, just look into my eyes and just listen to my story. And of course, if you have questions after this video, please do put them in comments, and then I'll address them in the next video. So, so it seems like we're having some sort of conversation. I was thinking about uh, would I want to do these live, um, but some things might not be totally interesting for everybody. And if I record these, then you can just fast forward and get to the part that might interest you. So that's why I did it like this. But today I want to talk about my life before cancer. I call it Life BC. Sounds kind of religious, but it's not. Um, the person I was before I got cancer was, and we probably all made these mistakes. I worked long hours. I came home late. Didn't want to make a decent dinner and foods. And during the day, it was more like, oh, I need to get something fast. So that was it. It was like pizza, Chinese food. Um, uh, going to the bakery, getting some cakes and what have you, all the easy stuff. And of course, I read all the articles, like you can't do this, you will ruin your gut, your colon will hate you forever. At that time, I was just working, I was living the life, I felt fine. Of course, I was weighing like 265 pounds, but hey, I mean, if you live good, you look kind of big good, right? So I was working. Um, at some points, of course, during this period, and we're talking about at least 10 years of eating badly. But sometimes I felt bad, I had some stomach problem, but I was being one of those people that said, nah, it'll pass, you know, just sleep on it or walk it away, and, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know how wrong I was, of course, but we all tend to think like that in the beginning. Um, uh, some people don't. They would go to doctors, see, oh, I had a little inch here on my left side. Can you look at that? It might be something. I was not like that. I was being lazy regarding doctors as well. Um, my family told me you need to go see the doctor more often, and and before I married my wife, um, she was also telling me on Skype. We met online 15 years ago. She was telling me on Skype, I don't like that you live alone. You need to go see the doctor if there's something wrong, because what if something happened and you would be all alone? But I said, yeah. um, I was being stubborn. I guess that's what we call it. Um, then we got to 2015, and in one night in 2015, I was feeling bad, Um, it was in February, and I had a night where nothing could stay inside me. I'm not gonna get all graphic because you know what I mean. And in the morning, I just kind of okay, I'm being graphic. I just kind of let out some gas, and everything was fine. I mean, that helped, and I could go to work, and I could work, and it was just perfect. And that was just one of those passing moments, uh, no pun intended. But months went past, and then later on in April, I got sick again, and this was serious because this time it wouldn't go away. I couldn't keep anything in me, um, and tried to eat, but you know what happened with that. And I got more and more weak because fluids kind of left my body, so I was feeling really bad. I still went to work as much as I could, but I had to kind of um, cancel some of my working hours, um, which was bad because then I had to pick it up later on. So it was like um, the wheel with no ending. We could call it the wheel of death, but we're not that dramatic. Although I just did, but hey. um, One day, and this was a Friday, I was feeling so bad. I was in my bed and just relaxing after a day of work. I got up, and shortly after, I just fainted right there on the floor. Like everything went black from the top, and I just fainted right on the floor. And I was down there for, I think, 20 seconds. It might have been longer. And then I said, I'm not supposed to be down here. I should get up. And I got up quickly, and I immediately fainted again. And then I knew something was not right. Um, I was, as you heard before, I was living alone. Um, and I didn't know if any of the neighbors were home because I really felt this was one of these moments where I needed to go to the ER. Um, so something like this had to happen before I actually realized that this was going bad. So luckily, my neighbor upstairs was home, and he agreed to drive me to the ER, and he even stayed up there until I was taken care of. So that was very nice. I appreciated him, and he was one of my best buddies. He was my angel that evening. Um, Up at the ER, they didn't believe at all that something serious was happening. Um, they kind of put me. I told them what was wrong. I hadn't been able to go number two for like 3 days at the time, and yet and still they thought I had some sort of diarrhea. Strange, I know. So they put me in isolation because they thought it might be one of those uh, sicknesses that could infect everybody on the hospital, which of course we didn't want. But I was trying to tell them it's actually the opposite that is happening with my gut, but they were locked into their opinion. So what could I say? So they gave me some fluid and took care of me. And then at some point, the nurse came in and took off. They they had all this protection gear on, like it was like a hazmat suit. Yeah, and at some point after 4 hours or something, she came in and she took the hazmat suit off and she looked at me and said, "I don't know what's wrong with you. So, but if you're feeling better, we'll be sending you home." That was like 4 a.m. in the morning. And I still had to work a little bit on the Saturday. So okay, well, send me home and let's see what happened. So I walked all the way home. It was not that far. It took 15 minutes. And the next morning I got up and I went to work. But then during work, of course, I got sick again and started doing all the stuff. And I had to get my neighbor to drive me back up to the ER. So again, they checked me and they gave me fluids, and still they didn't know what was wrong with me. So at 5 a.m. Sunday morning, they sent me home again. So it was kind of irritating, and it was a mix of feelings because I was kind of uh, I felt a relief that nothing. It seemed like nothing serious was wrong, even though, of course, what has happened. Um, and today, as you can hear while I'm telling story, I mix in what I knew then and what I know now. So it's a little bit of a mix of feelings. But at the time, I was a little bit relieved because maybe this would pass, so I could get back to my normal self. I worked a little bit again on the Sunday, um, still feeling worse, feeling more dehydrated. Monday worked most of the day, and I had some classes in the evening. And I tell you, my mouth was so dry. It was all, if you experienced it, it was all white here. You kind of, it sounds like you have nothing in your mouth. But I got through 2 hours of teaching there, and felt bad. Um, Tuesday, I was working again, and then when I got home, I knew that on the Wednesday I had to go to Copenhagen to get uh, a medic test because I was planning to move over here to the US, and since 2015. So I was hoping that I could still do that, but I was feeling so bad. In the morning, on the Wednesday, um, a question came up in my head, say, okay, can you go or should you go see the doctor? And just to show you how my mind was fighting this thing, I sat down on a chair in front of my phone, and I was thinking, okay, doctor, I'll go to Copenhagen. So I chose to call the doctor, and that was a wise choice, as you will hear in a minute. Um, and then I got a time down there, and I called Copenhagen and said so and so and so because I'm feeling real sick. And then they told me, well, if you had come all the way over here and you were sick, we wouldn't even have tested you, so we would have sent you back home. So good choice, TA, good choice. I went to the doctor, and my doctor is one of those, if you just come there for little things, he'll be like, but he looked at me and said, okay, you look really, really bad. And I said, you know what? I do feel really, really bad as well. So we got up on on the bed that he had. He checked me and he said, okay, we need to get you to the hospital. Well, I said, I've already been to the hospital like twice. So why didn't they check anything about your gut and got people down from some of those departments that actually knows what they're doing? And I looked him in the eye and said, I don't know. They didn't. They just know. With fluids. Drink blood. So he was pissed. Um, so I got a hold of an ambulance, got me up to the hospital. I got checked. They got somebody down that knew what about colon, stomach, and all that. Those experts. And 10 minutes later, I was in the CT scan, and then 1 hour later, they told me that something was definitely wrong. My colon was blocked by a big tumor, and that's why nothing was happening down there. So they had to figure out to get that loose and get that fixed. So they put me up for surgery at another hospital, and put a stent in that could release everything, and it was a release for me. But I do feel bad for the doctors that were sitting down at the end because everything up there came just out there. Not fun for them, but a relief for me. I like that. So my kids came down because this was serious, so they stayed with me all night. So that was nice to have some company down there. And the next day also my parents came down to the hospital, so everybody was there at the time. So, but let's just take 3 steps back. Because of stubbornness, I never thought about that this could be serious, even when I had that warning in a couple of months earlier. So because of stubbornness, I didn't see the doctor. So this is my advice to you because I learned it. I learned it the hard way. If there's anything that is not at all like it's supposed to be, please go see the doctor. Don't be stubborn like me. Because remember, I fainted twice in my apartment, and luckily I had someone that lived upstairs that could drive me to the ER. But what if that hadn't been the case? Then I would have been, anything could have happened. So I don't want that to happen to you. So don't be stubborn. See the doctor. Okay, we move forward again to the hospital situation. The doctor came out. Of course, they took out a biopsy of the tumor, and he came out and he told me, "I'm sorry to inform you that um, the tumor is malicious and you have cancer. So we need to get that out." And that was a shocker. You can imagine me. Nobody in my family has ever had cancer before, so it was so surreal. So I looked at him and I said, like, "Now what now?" And again, he was very serious and looked into my eyes and said, "The tumor is malicious. You have cancer. We need to get it out. So we need to set you up for surgery." And I was just thinking, I mean, I couldn't even believe it. It was so surreal. But, and I looked at, on my kids, and, my mom and dad was there, and they were just as shocked because, as I told you, nobody in my family had ever had cancer before. So I started thinking, why would I have to be the first one? I mean, why? That was one of my questions. And again, I was thinking, nah, this ain't happening. And maybe that's one of those things, that kept me going at the time, because it was so surreal. So I didn't even believe that this was something that I could die from, if you follow my meaning. And I was in the bed. I just received, and of course everybody looked at me, and they were sad, and I was just shocked. That was my feeling on that first day. I was shocked. Didn't realize it. Um, and later on, of course, I got home because I had to prepare for the surgery. The stent helped me, but they would take that out, of course, when they did the initial surgery to take out the stent. So yeah, 10 days later it was time for the surgery, and my surgeon, of course, went through all the things that was included with the surgery. So that was done. It took, I think it took 6 hours, and that was my first surgery ever. I never broken a finger. Maybe I was playing soccer, but that's the most. And all of a sudden, I'm in a 6-hour surgery. Unreal. But that part went well, and I got the initial ice cream. That's one of the plus things after surgeries. You get ice cream. You get to eat whatever you want because your stomach has to get back and working. And at that surgery, unfortunately, they could just put the colon back together, so I didn't have to have a bag. I can't remember what it's called, something like that. Um, so that was nice. So I just had to get up, walking around, get my stomach to work, and when that worked with everything, then they would send me home, and it took a week, and then I was back home, recovering. Um, there was a few days later, there was a meeting with the surgeon, uh, where she told me, okay, because this was cancerous, and even though we think we got everything, I mean, she said we cut a little bit out into, so we tried to get all the polyps and stuff like that. You still have to go through some preventative cancer treatment, and that was okay for me, as long as that was out, that was fine. So 2 weeks later, I started up the treatments, um, and still I had this feeling inside me that this was not happening. It was surreal. So I knew I was going to get through this. Call it some sort of stamina, some sort of stubbornness, but I knew I was going to get through this. Um, so started up the treatments. Uh, I got something called oxaliplatin. If you've been through treatments, you'll probably come across that. It's the kind of stuff that right after you get it, if you touch anything cold, it's like burning your fingers or tickling your fingers. And after a while, you kind of get a little numbness in your fingers. that's what happened. I still, after these years, I still have the numbness in my fingers. Um, so that was a surprise. And this was in June and July. So since I couldn't touch anything cold, I had to, I had to, when I went to the bakery to get some milk, I had to wear gloves in July. Just imagine how they were looking at me like, okay, he's cuckoo. But, they got used to it. But I was over there every day getting yogurt or milk, trying to build up my stamina in my body again and recovering. Um, the treatment went well. I've been so lucky with treatment. So apart from that sensitivity to cold, there's been nothing. Although on the third day of treatment with this stuff, um, when we got home from the hospital and I tried to get out of the car, my legs were locked totally. It was like any second they could go into a cramp. So and it was my muscles. So it took me. Normally it takes me maybe a minute to get into my apartment, but this time it took me 10, 15 minutes because I had to walk like one step easy. Now my daughter was just walking beside me, supporting me, and then we had to get up the steps, and finally we got into the apartment. So, so that was scary. And I called the hospital and said so and so and so. And that means they had to reduce the oxaliplatin a little bit, and that made it better. But ever since that day, when I got the oxaliplatin after the treatments, I still had these twisting in the muscles. When you sat down after you come home for treatment, the muscles going like, like this. So that was kind of, funny to look at. But I was doing well, so of course that helped me feeling good about myself and helped me feeling that, okay, I'm gonna get through this. So we got through all the treatments, and they said everything was clear. And when we were sitting there and we were told everything was clear, I was with my parents. Um, of course, we got somewhat we got emotional because it's been a very scary ride from being told that you had cancer, going through the treatments with the things that happened through that, and then being told, okay, we got it all, now you're free from cancer. So after that, I could start planning on when I could get back to work. Just needed a few days to get all the medications out of my system. Um, and then December that year, I started working again, and that was good. It was like a victory. It makes you feel like that you have conquered something that was at some point seemed bigger than yourself, but you rose with the challenge and you beat it. So after 6 months of working, I started planning on getting my papers, because I still wanted to move to the U.S. So 2016, I got a chance again to come over and visit my wife. And during that visit, we decided that okay, no more traveling over here. This was the fourth time I came over here, over to the U.S. So we decided, okay, we'll start up the paperwork. We got that done, and on December 26, 2016, actually it was December 28th, 2016. See, I blame it on the drugs. I came over here to stay, and in the next segment, if you are still with me, I will talk about 2017 and how all of a sudden the cancer returned, and this time it was metastatic, and that could have been a killer, but it wasn't because I'm still here. So again, if you do have some questions, something you want me to address, please do put questions down here in the comments, and share this link with your friends, family that you think might be able to benefit from my story. And if you think that I blabber a lot, well, remember, I'm not one of those kinds that say, okay, that sounded bad. Let's stop it there, edit, and then you'll have one of these like perfect picture again. I just talk to you from here, and I hope you like that. But now I'll let you go, and in a week or so, I'll have up part 2 of these videos. So stay tuned, stay safe, and you can do it. We can do it. Bye bye now.